BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and this was a topic you guys have wanted me to talk about since the season's over. So let's finally talk about who I consider to be the 10 strongest Beyblade characters in X Season 2. No, I will have a little bit of a disclaimer that it might not just be 10, though it's a little bit of a weird situation regarding the 10th place. The last time I did this, I focused on the characters at their peak, aka by their best performances and in relation to what they're able to do in comparison to the rest of the characters on the list who would do better against each other by the end of the series. And fair warning, there are going to be a little bit of curveballs, though I encourage any civil disagreements, because power scaling is not meant to be entirely that deep on the surface. Besides, we all know who the top 2 are going to be. Talking about everyone else is going to be a lot more interesting. If you made it this far, type Persona Sweep in the comments. After all, they won the tournament. And let's get started with... So, coming in 10th place, we have a tie between Common Z, Karuda, and Burn, and I'll explain why. See, all 3 of them have an advantage that the other one doesn't, and I think all of them have weaknesses and issues the other one either can mitigate against another opponent in this triangle. For example, Burn lost to Karuda with Phoenix Rudder, but he put up a valiant effort against Chrome with Phoenix Wing. It's just Impact Drake's Stamina Custom could counter everything he did, and I'm not sure Karuda's mode change would allow her to get through that or make it worse. And he can beat Shieru even when the latter was using his customs. For Karuda, she beat Burn with Rudder using Garuda, but Common Z has Reject Barrier he can use to block the first Extreme Dash, and he has an Extreme Dash he can use to counter a Crimson Maneuver, but the question becomes whether or not he can master the customs to beat Burn more consistently, since he beat him with one but failed against the other 2. Then there's a question of if Burn can beat Garuda with Phoenix Wing, since he was able to survive against Chrome for so long, and also be able to do pretty well against Shieru for training. So because of this, I have them in this weird 3-way triangle where I can see either one beating one of the other 2, but not necessarily getting an advantage enough to put them in 10th place above the others. In 9th place is the woman who made Palkun her boy toy, and that is Yoko QB, who I could see some people seeing as a sneak, but thanks to the anime, we know she has some serious skill. Omega is the only person we can assume got more than a spin finish on her. Not only was she able to create the blueprints for CX Blade and Fox Brush, but in her debut fight, she was able to give a legend like Queen a good battle and win. We also don't know if she defeated Goldius with Fox Brush or the Blade before it, but that gives her even more incentive to be on the list if it was the former, and definitely dangerous if it was the latter. Then it's highlighted in her fight with Multi. While she had the type advantage, this was the first battle where Wizard Arc actually struggled and it didn't defeat its opponent. Meanwhile, with Nightmail, Yoko was at a type disadvantage but still managed to turn the fight into a slugfest of endurance with the multiple extreme dashes and forcing Multi to use very heavy mail twice. And it ultimately came down to that final clash. And as Multi's final opponent for the season, she fought feverishly, and for that, the Nine-Tailed Fox owner gets 9th place on this list. I swear that was not planned until I finished this segment. Coming in at 8th place, shockingly, is Multi. Now, I was torn between whether she should be above Bird, and to be fair, half of the accomplishments by any of the heroes this season is thanks to her. Both of her battles with Nightmail were great, and she didn't perform terribly with Arc Wizard one bit. The only reason she's not higher is that compared to everyone else above her, I don't know in a defense battle would she be able to overcome Lance, since compared to Season 1, where she used Extreme Dashes with both of her Beyblades, we never saw her use it with either one this time, which Bird was able to use to push Lance towards a draw, and against Midion, his raw tenacity might be able to overwhelm her in a stamina battle, or be stronger than Yoko's onslaught. But her growth through her story was impressive, and her battles with Reiru, Shigeru, and Yoko were strong enough to make her number 8 on this list. Number 7 might be a sneak, but we have Bird Kazami. And remember what I said, I am judging these characters based on their performance at their peak, which means both of his battles with Lance are counted for this, and just because you lose to a jobber one time doesn't mean that you're weak at your best. And Bird's got some solid feats before this, doing well against the triple battle against Toguro before barely losing to Uni out of circumstance, blocking Karuda's extreme dash, and while Lance was holding back the first time, we don't know the extent to how much or if Lance also held back against Common X. The second time, Bird used customization, which while he probably can't use against Multi, a blader who uses any legal tools at his disposal to figure out the optimal strategy against his opponent is one that is both strong mentally and physically, as those of you in the competitive scene should know, which, considering Shieru with Shentel Drake, couldn't come close to beating Perseus Dark, and Bird was able to force him to a draw and knock the blade out with an extreme dash in the air, but also have a balance type tie with a defense type in a stamina battle, we should put some more respect on Bird's name. Comment section, type respect Bird. That's why he's number 7 on the list. Now, before we begin, I have a question for you. Who do you think is stronger, Lance or Midion? Because I have them both next to each other, and the order might surprise you. While you give me your thoughts in the comments on that one, I will give you my number 6 on this list, and that is Lance. This may come as a shock to some of you since intelligence plays a factor, but Lance is a brutal strategist, and while he is hard to beat, his circumstances and his ego knock him down a peg. Against his fight with Shieru, he was fighting in the Air Dash Stadium, which gives stamina and defense types a better advantage to reach the extreme land. And against Bird, he not only underestimated him twice, but his blade's heavy durability makes it weak against two factors. He can't reach the extreme line to counterattack normally, which makes him extremely focused on defense, and chipping away at his stamina can work if you have a good mix of power and balance. Something Bird was able to figure out and bypass. Still, his defense is harder to crack than Multi. We were told Lance would probably beat Bird properly going all out, and if Yoko couldn't break through Multi's defense, she probably couldn't break through his either. So for that, he makes number 6 on this list. In 5th place, we've got Midion, which should be no surprise, and his fight against Common X actually makes him look more impressive when you think about it. Remember, Tenka said that Lance was strategically stronger, but Midion's raw tenacity and strength should be nothing to scoff at. He is one of the few people to have actually survived an extreme dash from Exu off raw effort alone, and considering the only people that were able to do that at least once was Takumi, Multi, Burn, and Chrome, that speaks a whole lot for his survivability. And remember, stamina types are weak against attack types. Then you have to take into account either through his extra shoot or his blade's performance set. He is one of the few stamina type bladers to get his Beyblade to reach the extreme line without the opponent's help, which he is absolutely insane that he had the tenacity to go from almost getting a burst finish to being able to perform an extreme dash, something Lance couldn't even do. Had this been almost any other opponent beyond anyone in the top 4, there's a good chance they would have lost, and that's enough of an argument for Midion to be on the top 5 of this list. Then in 4th place, we got Ryugu Chrome. I'm not sure this might be controversial, but then when you remember the fact that Impact Drake, well, he didn't really use all that often, you'll understand why he's number 4 and not number 3. This comes down to the fact that Impact Drake is just pretty strong to beat, given that with its rubber, it can not only block attacks with Stamina Custom, but in Balance Custom, this thing can tank attacks from extreme dashes and reach the extreme dash with ease, defeating countless opponents, and based on that image training, he likely would be an Exu, who was using Buster Dran, mind you, with Dragonic Break 0 as a plan. Yeah, had he not had a complex about wanting to see Exu lose, Ryugu might have won that, and he was able to beat his former Dragoon Beyblades with no difficulty. Then there's this battle with Burn, where he was able to absorb everything but the rubber and blast Phoenix out of the stadium. The only thing keeping him from out of the top 3 is that we didn't see him battle enough to see whether or not he would be able to beat the top 3 at their peak. And the top 3 all have at least one get out of jail free card or means to take center stage in the fight, including one that he actually did not use this season, which we will talk about with our next person, which is... 3rd place is a character most of you guys like, but I will occasionally hear one of you guys hate, and that is the Sheriboshi school never loses in Tenka Sheriboshi. And honestly, if she was only using Samurai Saber, she probably would have been around Million's level at best, but this girl is no slouch. She was able to beat almost every member of Persona. She beat Burn and King at the same time, Queen, Iwao, and Dokuga. And obviously this is because of her training and dedication. I feel like people forget that she was basically the head instructor and assistant instructor at the Sheriboshi school. And yes, while we did find out Midion and Lance held back, she's been dedicated to make every member of Zodiac take her seriously with her effort. In battle, she's figured out her opponent's weaknesses, took advantage of the Battle Royale system, and thanks to her losses against Exu, she's been able to actually learn from him somewhat and strive to improve, resulting in her battle against Omega. What she was able to do what Shieru struggled to do and use her own take on Dragonic Break with Supernova. A move so strong had Omega not had a final drive mode, she likely would have won that fight, and that was with Caliber, something that's much stronger than Saber. Considering there's blades on the top and bottom, there's a good chance she could break through Impact Drake's rubber, and we've seen Chrome lose to a Dragonic Break style move before, which means there's a good likelihood Tenka could beat Chrome. So for all of those reasons, she makes number 3 on this list. And 2nd and 1st place easily go to Omega and Exu. Omega is just above everyone under her in some way or form. Arrow was strong enough to beat Yoko, while Multi struggled against. Bird had to put in that work to match Lance, and she doesn't have Midion or Lance's weaknesses of underestimating her opponent. She gave Chrome Impact Drake, and while it's likely stronger than Arrow, Pegasus Blast completely puts Chrome's ability to beat her into question, and until Supernova, she dominated Tenka throughout the fight. The only reason she's not number 1 is because Exu defeated her, and next to the anime, we know she had to pull all the stops just to be the character who can challenge him the best, even having to use Big Bang in the style of gigantic breaching. And Exu probably used the momentum from that to make his Dragonic Break go from X to Cosmo. And Exu just speaks for himself. It was implied that he's been holding back out of more fun than the desire to just go completely nuts in battle. And with that limitation removed, we saw his feats go crazy between his battles with Tenka, Midion, and Omega. So for 2 lists in a row, he remains number 1. And that is my list. Naturally, I know that this is one that's very subjective, and anyone's list is completely valid because it all depends on interpretation. But let me know if you thought this list actually made sense, or exactly what would you change about it, because even I agree. I can see anyone disagreeing with this. But regardless, thanks for watching. I want to get to 750 subscribers by the halfway point of the month, so hopefully I have you all to help tank with that. Thank you for watching as usual. Like, comment, and subscribe, because, you know, that actually helps, and telling that to you guys to do that actually works. And I'll see you all in the next one. So, BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.